Today for our daily cancellation, we turn to Drew Barrymore. The actress turned talk show host recently had a lot to say, a lot of rather glowing things to say about divorce. Barrymore has been divorced 3 times. That is, she has failed at marriage 3 times. She has broken her vows 3 times. And now she pretends to be very happy about it. She expressed that happiness in a conversation this week with Marie Osmond, who has 2 divorces under her belt. But before we get to that conversation, you should know that Barrymore has been very open about her divorces for a long time. In fact, one might say she's been far too open about them. A few years ago, Barrymore invited one of her ex-husbands, Tom Green, onto her show where they proceeded to have an unbearably awkward conversation on television in front of a live studio audience for reasons that are not quite clear. Watch.
I've had 2 nights of great sleep in my life before my daughters were born. And I don't know why, but sleep is it's just been like a weird thing for me. And I remember this night just being so content. And I was at your parents' lake house, and I remember hearing all their voices upstairs, and I was just by myself, and I was going to sleep, and I was like, yeah, this is what, safety and contentedness feels before you're going to sleep. And I will never forget that night. And I love your parents, and I really love you, and I celebrate you. And, when you say 20 years, sometimes it's the blink of an eye. And sometimes you're like, oh my God, we've lived so much in these last 20 years. You've had a whole life, and I've had a whole life. And it's just really nice to come together and check in and talk about it. It thrills me to no end. And I think the world of you, and I celebrate you, and I always have, and I always will.
Thank you, Drew. Thank you. This is really, I was so happy when you invited me on the show. It's been too long. We should have, it's nice to reconnect. We really did not talk for about 15 years, I guess. And this is really the first time we've looked at each other face to face in 15 years.
How do people watch this show? I mean, just to start with, sleep is, I have a weird thing about sleep. What your weird thing is that you like to sleep? That's not weird. We all, as human beings, we all enjoy sleeping. We need to sleep, all of us. So it's not like a unique, quirky thing about you, Drew Barrymore, is that you enjoy sleeping. But a few other takeaways here. First of all, she divorced the guy, didn't speak to him at all for 15 years apparently, then invited him onto her talk show to have an emotional heart-to-heart in front of a television audience, which is bizarre behavior to say the least. Second, she recounts a story of feeling safe and content when she was married to Tom Green, and yet she divorced him mere months after this cherished memory took place. Her marriage to Tom Green lasted from 2001 all the way to the year 2002. And she continues in that conversation to profess her love and admiration for the man and claims that she's always loved and celebrated and admired him, the man that she divorced after 12 months and proceeded to cut out of her life completely for the next 2 decades. If that's how she treats people that she loves and admires, one would hate to imagine how she treats people that she actually doesn't like. And that brings us to the conversation this week in which Drew Barrymore declares that after 3 failed marriages, she is totally liberated. Here's the Daily Wire. Quote, actress Drew Barrymore said she's not embarrassed about being divorced 3 times. Instead, she feels liberated. Quote, I had so much shame around divorce, and for some reason, something happened, and I said, I'm no longer willing to feel this way. And it just lifted for me. Barrymore said of her own experience. She went on to describe how she sees divorce as preserving, quote, the precious commodity we have on this planet, which is only our time. And when you're truly in a situation that isn't functioning the way that optimally it hopes and wishes to be, we accept that and we improve our quality of life by moving forward. Divorce now, to me, I don't have shame around it. I'm totally liberated, Barrymore added. Now, Marie Osmond, unsurprisingly, agreed, quote, talk show guest and famed singer Marie Osmond agreed that divorce could be positive. She said that while she thinks married couples should be doing everything possible to make a marriage work, she also stressed that both parties should do the work. Quote, I also believe that there are some divorces made in heaven. In my situation, I divorced at 50, and I had 8 children that I needed to support, take care of. I was basically the breadwinner. Now, it never ceases to amaze me that people can live for so many years, and in Barrymore's case, 5 decades, and yet learn absolutely nothing. Gain no wisdom at all. Because wisdom, as we can see, is not automatically accrued with age. It is offered. Opportunities are presented to obtain it, But you have to actively participate in the process of obtaining that wisdom. If you don't, then you run the risk of becoming like Drew Barrymore, pushing 50, but with all the insight of a 19-year-old sorority girl. I'm here today because my mother chose life, and you're here today because your mother chose life also. The miracle of life is a gift everyone deserves because every life is precious. That's why we've partnered with Preborn's network of clinics. Preborn introduces unborn babies to their mothers through ultrasound. After hearing her baby's heartbeat and seeing her precious baby, she could be twice as likely to choose life. Through love, compassion, and free ultrasounds, Preborn has rescued over 280,000 unborn babies, and every day their clinics rescue 200 unborn babies. Now that is a miracle. One ultrasound is just $28, the cost of a dinner, or you can sponsor 5 ultrasounds for $140, helping to rescue 5 unborn babies. Any amount will help. All gifts are tax deductible, and 100% of your donation will go towards saving babies. To donate securely, dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, say the keyword baby, or go to preborn.com/Matt. That's preborn.com/Matt. You know, I sent a portrait to Paint Your Life a few years ago. The process was quick and easy. I love their work so much that I've used them multiple times since then. With Mother's Day and Father's Day around the corner, Paint Your Life is the perfect gift for someone you love. They created hand-painted portraits that fit almost any budget and are a great gift idea for your mother, your father, or both. Paint Your Life seriously transforms your photos into a one-of-a-kind, beautiful hand-painted portrait by professional artists. What I really love is how they can create anything you imagine. Put yourself in a location you've always wanted to go to, or add a lost loved one to a special occasion to create the portrait of your dreams. You can choose the artist, art medium, whether that's oil, acrylic, watercolor, or charcoal. They even have a great selection of quality frames. Their user-friendly platform lets you order a custom-made, hand-painted portrait in less than 5 minutes. You'll get your professional hand-painted portrait in as little as 2 weeks. Give the most meaningful gift with paintyourlife.com. There's no risk. If you don't love the final painting, your money is refunded, guaranteed. And right now, as a limited time offer, get 20% off your painting and free shipping. To get the special offer, text the word Matt to 87204. That's Matt to 87204. Paint Your Life. Celebrate the moments that matter most. Message and data rates may apply. See terms for details. And there are many ways to fail at life, many ways to fail at life. But one of them, maybe the biggest one, is to fail to gain wisdom. A person who gets older but not wiser has failed in the most fundamental way that a person can fail. In fact, I don't presume to know or to predict what will happen when we stand before the throne of judgment at the end of it all, but I do know that this is one question God could ask that would reveal everything. You could say, it's a simple question. Tell me what you've learned. And if the answer is, I guess I totally just learned that, you got to do what makes you happy. Then the lever is pulled, the trap door opens up, and enjoy your trip down south. That's how it could work anyway. The interesting thing to note here, though, is that people who make a point of claiming that they aren't ashamed of a certain thing will almost always go on to talk about that thing in a way that reveals that they are, in fact, deeply ashamed of it. I mean, there is nobody more ashamed of divorce than the person who goes around blowing a trumpet and declaring that they're not ashamed of divorce. That's why she talks about divorce in such a roundabout, euphemism-laden way, in a very sanitized way. She says that when you're truly in a situation that isn't functioning the way that optimally it hopes and wishes to be, we accept that and we improve our quality of life by moving forward. I mean, that means basically nothing. To the extent that it means anything at all, it sounds like she's talking about her decision to, say, cancel her gym membership or delete her Uber Eats app and use DoorDash instead. I mean, you cannot claim that you have no shame about something when you can't bring yourself to talk about it in an honest way. If you feel the need to lie to yourself about something that you've done, then you obviously are ashamed of it. And the biggest lie that Drew Barrymore tells, and that many divorced people tell, is that the divorce was something that just happened. They didn't choose it. They didn't walk into it knowingly, willingly, with their eyes opened. They say instead that the situation wasn't functioning optimally, like they're describing a malfunctioning smartphone. The only real role that they had to play in the collapse of their own marriage was just to accept it. Accept that it was happening, and there was nothing they could do to prevent it. But this is, again, a lie, and it's a lie that should be, in some sense, actually comforting to those unmarried younger people who are afraid of marriage because of the Drew Barrymores of the world. The good news for you is that, well, for one thing, you're not going to accidentally end up with a self-centered bimbo like Drew Barrymore. You might end up with one like that, but only if you do it on purpose. The Drew Barrymores of the world cannot possibly present themselves as serious, trustworthy people for long enough to fool any man with more than 2 brain cells. But the other piece of good news is that despite the rationalizations some particularly dishonest divorced people make, the reality is that divorce is actively chosen. It is something that some couples work towards. Maybe not with divorce consciously in mind as the end goal, but they're working towards it all the same. It doesn't just happen. You don't fall into it one day like falling into a puddle. It doesn't arise passively out of situations. It is a conscious choice. And usually, not always, but usually one that both parties have a hand in making. Which means that staying married, being happy, is also a choice. You just have to make it. You make it today, and then you make it tomorrow, and then you make it the next day, until death do you part. It's pretty simple. Maybe not always easy, but it is simple anyway. And that's how you avoid ending up like Drew Barrymore, who is today canceled. Thanks for checking out this video. If you'd like to listen to my full podcast on the go, you can check out The Matt Walsh Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.